Welcome to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. We are a community newspaper based in Mid-Coast, Maine, and we provide the most comprehensive, in-depth coverage available anywhere of the 18 towns and one plantation that make up Lincoln County. My name is Johnathan Riley, and I'm a reporter here at the Lincoln County News. I usually cover the towns of Bremen, Bristol, South Bristol, Monhegan.
Any more?
Yeah, I was about to, you could hear it.
And
I was
all
like,
the others.
and kind of Newcastle and Damascotta right now.
Yes, and my name's Molly Rains. I'm also a reporter for the Lincoln County News, and I typically cover Waldoboro, Jefferson, and Somerville. And I have beside me a little creature. So if anybody hears some breathing or barking, that's Hedgehog, our office dog. And we also have our editor-in-chief, Maia Zewert, here.
I am so glad Hedgehog got the intro before me. I love it.
Just going counterclockwise.
Yes.
And in terms of who is breathing the closest to me.
That's true. That's fair. I still say we should put her on mic sometime.
Yeah, she's got a lot to say.
Fantastic. Today we'll be hearing some of the top stories from our February 20th edition, including some conversations about a notable individual in Lincoln County and some national news about the renaming of a certain fort in the area, which you may or may not have already heard. But we're going to go into some more depth about that. But we're going to first cover this week's news.
Yes, we have some exciting news from the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, who named Jeffrey Rogers the 2024 Deputy of the Year. And I was at this meeting of the Lincoln County Commissioners when they made this announcement, and there had been somebody speaking before who I went out into the hallway to ask him his name, and all of a sudden I was surrounded by the entire Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. It seemed like...
Has that happened before?
It was surprising. And Deputy Rogers was there, and apparently, I caught up with him later that day. Apparently, Sheriff Brackett told him he was going to be giving a presentation. So he put all his materials together, and he prepared himself to present to the commissioners about a grant. And when he got there, they were like, "Surprise, you're getting an award."
That is both... amazing that they freaked him out like that, but also I really hope one day he gets to give the presentation.
Did he at all discuss the amount of work he put into that presentation?
No, but he was visibly taken aback.
He's like, you made me do a lot of work.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to ask him how much it was, but he is the leader of Lincoln County Sheriff's Office drone program, which is really cool. That's something that they started after he was brought onto the force in 2021. And in his prior career, where he served almost 30 years with the Arlington, Texas Police Department, he also ran the drone program there. So he knows a lot about it. And if you ever see him in the field with a drone controller, he will tell you about what he's doing. It's really cool.
Oh, wow. That's really fantastic. Yeah. I didn't know we had a drone here in Lincoln County.
I know, more than one. Yeah.
What?
And it's good news for us because he was saying one of the things they're working on is using the drones to map the scenes of crashes, which we know from going and photographing, people remain on the scene for a long time sometimes,
right.
And everyone's waiting for answers and to investigate it. But if you can capture an image from the air of the crash with a drone, you could conceivably then reopen the roadway and traffic will open up.
Right, you don't need to close it all the way down. And that's interesting because is it a reconstructionist where they come in from Sadnahunk County, which is the closest reconstructionist that we have. So that would cut down on that time too, being able to send that image. Maybe they don't even I'm extrapolating at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and the sheriff's office is also training a reconstructionist of their own. But that's just one of the things that drones are used for here. There's a lot. Fires, missing people.
I was going to say, on the topic of fires, back when I was a reporter, there was a brush fire in the lovely town of Bristol. And
what?
I know. And John Roberts had a drone.
Oh.
And so the next day, John Roberts, in his capacity as the Damascotta fire chief, was providing mutual aid and not the other hat he sometimes wears in this building. We went
unseen as Lincoln County News publisher.
Yes.
Operating a
big
drone.
brush fire.
So he went to the scene and put the drone in the air to tell the firefighters where the other hotspots were. So
Yes.
fires, very useful.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I first met Deputy Rogers. I was at a brush fire in Waldoboro, and he was making sure that they weren't missing anything, and also that the equipment could reach where it needed to go, and that they were bringing the right equipment out. So, and he was also saying something interesting about drones, which is that if there's a potential for an armed confrontation, you could send a drone in first so that you can see if somebody's hiding out and you're in a stakeout, if they're armed, which helps keep people safe. So that's very cool. And then he also does traffic enforcement, which he said is really important to him because...
Also with the drone? It comes up beside you
Hey,
on the highway.
but that's a good idea.
Yeah. People will not be startled by that at all.
No.
My mom definitely won't veer off the road in her 2007 Prius.
Well, on the bright side, if anyone were to get into a crash, the drone could just go up and capture the scene.
A job well done.
Oop, accident. Cause unknown. Driver was distracted.
Yes, so...
So anyway, he won an award for that. It sounds really cool, and not just in this article too is illuminating in that we're hearing a little bit about the drone program over there, and that is something to keep tabs on and learn more about as well. So it sounds like it's just interesting to learn about the work that this person has been responsible for, and that's really cool. It sounds like it was he sounds worthy of a worthy recipient.
He was very humble. So, yeah, it was nice to talk to him after. And we've got also a new face in South Bristol, Johnathan.
We do. Alan Spinney was appointed as the new fire chief. And Mr. Spinney is not a new face in the area. He grew up in the Bristol Mills and was a part of the Bristol Fire Department for like 15 years. And then he got a job as the facilities manager down in at the Darling Marine Center, the University of Maine Darling Marine Center in Walpole. And then started helping out with the department down there, the South Bristol's Fire Department. Eventually, started just working with South Bristol, and he's been very visible. I've seen him. It's been really great working with the previous chief, Mark Carruthers. I have seen Alan a lot. It's so much so that at some point I was like, is Alan the chief? But they, and I spoke to Mark, and, Mark, the previous chief, was there for, on and off. He'd been working with the department since 1993.
Wow.
So, it's a big change, and he has held he did a stint as a chief between like 2006 and 2008, and then again from 2012 to 2025. So
13 years is a good run. That's
it's a huge run. And Spinney is the town clerk or the administrative assistant, Margie Morman, down in South Bristol, said that Spinney is a great communicator, and I think that's a really important thing to be as the fire chief, both vocationally and just like municipally. Being a great communicator is a very valuable thing in that position, and he's a really, really nice dude. South Bristol's really lucky to have him, and we'll be excited to see how it goes forward. I did learn that you don't need to live in the town. That at least in South Bristol, you don't need to live in South Bristol in order to be the fire chief.
Does he not?
He doesn't. He lives in the Bristol Mills still.
Oh, okay.
So he's born in the area. He grew up in the area. He's very familiar, and he had a great quote about he just loves it here, and he doesn't ever want to leave. I think what he said was exactly this: I've always loved the area and never want to venture out of it. Being able to find a full-time job is the key to being able to stay here. And being able to do this volunteer work as my passion is the icing on the cake.
That's amazing. That's so great to hear.
It's really great to hear, and he really cares about it. He's got a family too, so he's just we're lucky. I live in South Bristol. We as in Lincoln County is lucky to have him join the ranks, because he's really excited to try to bring in a little bit more engagement. They have 15 to 18 volunteers right now at the department, but he wants that to be a more active number. He wants 15 to 18 people who are really involved. Yeah. And I think it's really good. He's also, I don't know, he can't be too much older than me. He graduated from Lincoln Academy in like 2006, 2000. So he's like 7 years older than me. So
Young people in leadership roles.
yeah, young people in
Exciting.
leadership roles, which is, we should be advocating for a little bit more youthful representation around here. But that's really cool. And Spinney, Mr. Spinney, Mr. Chief Spinney, congratulations again. And if you are listening to this, we of Lincoln County are very lucky to have you. So,
Awesome.
Something else that we're lucky to have.
Very, very lucky.
Yeah, quick pivot over to New York style pizza has entered the conversation here in Lincoln County, and not just the conversation, the actual premises.
I am so excited about this.
Yes, it is so cool. So our reporter Piper Pavlich said that wrote about a Waterville man brought in a new business venture to Wiscasset that's going to be serving up New York style pizza.
Yes.
Richard Patron, am I saying?
Patron, I think, and it's completely separate from his medical marijuana storefront, but they are at the same place. So, separate business-wise.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah, but he's got, he's trying to recreate New York style pizza, which I was reflecting on, and I don't quite know what the criteria are. Like, you know it when you see it, right? But,
Exactly.
New York style pizza?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like characteristically thinner. It's like a thin, like deep dish is Chicago style deep dish is like obviously what
That's
it sounds
crazy.
like. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's more of
Yeah.
like a pie. Like it's like a tomato cheese pie.
Yeah.
Whereas New York style pizza is like thin crust, and it's really like crunchy and crispy. We don't really have that represented here.
You want to be able to fold it too, like
Classic
Okay.
fold. Yeah.
Yes.
Like you're walking down a city street.
Yeah, you want to be able to.
Exactly.
Yeah, you want to be able to hold it, like get on the subway, the
Good thing he's
Wiscasset
in
subway.
Wiscasset. Yeah.
Yeah, thriving public transport down in Wiscasset.
Yeah.
to say something about the subway quick
Yeah.
because it made me think of this. We've been asked a couple times through many a time over the years, like why our paper is the size it is and if we do ever consider shrinking. And me as a young reporter back in the year of 2015, 2016, asked this as well. And the thing I was told was, the reason that papers got thinner were so that you could read them on the subway. So when Lincoln County got a subway, that was when we would shrink the size of our paper. So you could hold your Lincoln County news and your slice of pizza
One step
on the
closer to
subway.
that being reality.
Interesting. So Maya, are you breaking the news right now that Lincoln County is getting a subway?
I am neither confirming or denying the fact that I have heard anything of any rumor of that nature.
The only subway that I'm aware of is in front of the Central Lincoln County YMCA.
There's also one in Waldoboro. Excuse you very much.
Yeah. Not that you ever go up there, but that's fine.
I don't go to that one. I don't actually.
Johnathan gets to the border of Nobleboro and he's like, I don't need to go any further
whoa.
north.
I just
Thank you.
I spent enough time up in Waldoboro in Friendship. That's funny too, because there used to be at the subway in front of the YMCA in Damascata, they used to serve pizza there.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
That was so good.
microwavable pizza. Nothing like watching someone make a pizza in 90 seconds. It's just nuclear. They put on like a hazmat suit and the power dimmed a little bit when they turned it on. Anyway, we're veering way off
We
course
are
here.
a little bit.
That was very much my
you can-
fault.
I feel like you can get a fast pizza from Richard Patron, and you can get 20 different types of toppings, multiple types of cheese, and take it home because it's takeout only. And if you want New York style pizza, just like we're this confirms what we're talking about. He said that his is the only New York style pizza within 100 miles.
So did he contract the drone services of the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office to figure that out? That's like, I feel like that's a pretty wild. So 100 miles around Wiscasset, that pushes
I'll
it
look
down
it up.
to like, because Portland from Damascata is like 50 miles.
But we don't know what his criteria are like for New York style pizza. He might be. Because Piper is on vacation right now, we can only speculate.
Is that where she is? Really?
But I feel like he has expressed that he has a very high bar for New York style pizza. So all you can do is go check it out. They're open from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Wednesday to Sunday. And their website is libertypizzashop.com.
Just for the good of the listening public, 100 miles around Wiscasset includes Greenville and then Massachusetts. So it's a pretty wide
As somebody from the Mass New Hampshire border, though, I can't think of any New York pizza places in my hometown. So
Rockport,
we haven't disproven him
Groveland.
yet.
No. I would be curious to know what his criteria were.
Totally. Well,
If we
Piper will
could
be
get a
back next week.
rubric, that would be great.
I love that. Mm-hmm. One day we should do, for one of our magazine features, like the pizzas of Lincoln County.
Yes, please.
And do but including like all the gas stations and like
Breakfast pizza?
Breakfast pizza, yes.
I don't know if we should do a ranking because
No.
I would hate that because I've never had a piece of pizza. I've been like, I can't finish this.
No, absolutely. They're all good and they're all so different. It's apples and oranges.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, we did a brewery tour story, and by we I mean I wrote it because I wanted to.
A couple years ago, I feel like that was at the inception of the magazines.
That may have been in 2018,
Maya,
2019.
a couple years ago, I started here.
No. A couple years ago. Yeah. Anyway, so either more or less than half a decade ago, we did a tour of Lincoln County breweries. So I think we could employ a similar thing here where it's a tour of Lincoln County's pizza.
That's interesting too, because Odd Alewives has transitioned into solely a pizza place.
Pizza celebration this
Pizza
spring.
celebration.
I love
The
it.
magazine's free, so we'll let you know when you can get it. And in the meantime, we'll be eating all the pizza.
Yes, after a quick stop at Liberty Pizza and their next door entities.
Yes. Another thing that we had on the front page this week was Bob and Lynn Plord as our couples of the county, interviewed by Sherwood Olin, our associate editor. They are business owners who own Mail It For You, which used to be Bob's Mailbox Express, and the Coastal Locker Room.
And that's the Mail It For You in Bath. They sold the Newcastle, which is now in Damerscotta, arm a couple years ago. And I actually do mean a couple years ago now.
That was to Supplies Unlimited. Did they sell that to them?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. They, staples in the community, people know them for their hard work and communication. It's a good sense of humor.
Yes.
Too, which is a good thing to have as a Lincoln County resident. You can't get through the winters here in Lincoln County without a good sense of humor. And you can't get through 35 years of marriage without a good sense of humor and good communication. So,
I'm saying yes like I'd know, but it seems plausible.
Yeah, right. Me say I assume that those characteristics of hard work, communication, humor all feed into having a healthy relationship. So they also a daughter named Bailey, who's a champion golfer and a prospective golf pro. She was a Maine State champion high school main golfer. She's a Maine State champion golfer. 3 times and an amateur champion 2 times.
Yes.
So while I don't know exactly everything I just said, I do know that means that she's a very good golfer and would wipe the floor with me in any golf competition. That is also to say I don't play golf, so that bar is pretty low. I think Hedgehog here probably has a better putting game than I do.
Yeah, she's lived a long time. She's played a lot.
With her nose.
Yeah, she would. Yeah, 40 strokes just through the.
I really liked the fact that they worked together in the past and yet have still had such a strong relationship, because that's tough. I mean, it introduces a whole other dynamic, but
we say this working in a family business ourselves.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, that would be a really interesting podcast episode, or even just an article at some point. Is just being that we have a small community, this happens pretty frequently where families work together. And how have the Roberts done it? How to have, I guess we heard a little bit about how Bob and Lynn Plor did it, and it sounds like communication and humor is how they've been able to do that. But it'd be interesting to see how the rest of Lincoln County is able to navigate business and family.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So speaking of Bailey's accomplishments as an athlete, we had a ton of sports this week again, and it seems like each week we have a new champion, we have a new record. Something has there's been an upheaval, there has been a firing. I mean, the sports scene here in Lincoln County has been really fun to watch over the last few months. And Maya, I think that you are the person to go into those details.
Well, it's funny because a couple weeks ago, I semi-jokingly, semi-seriously said to Mick LaBelle and Paula Roberts, our sports writers, like, if sports could stop having so much newsy news, that would be great because you keep taking up space on the front page. I think this is the most we've ever had a sports story on the front page in a sports season in a while. So, but highlights from this week across the board, Lincoln Academy's 2 basketball teams have unfortunately been eliminated from the tournament. However, they both put up 2 instant classic games. The 9 seed the 9 seed Lincoln Academy girls, took on the number 1 seed Spruce into overtime. It was amazing, and it's such a heartbreak. And Miriam Delisle closed out her senior season strong, so we're very proud of her. The Lincoln Academy boys in the first round, in the quarterfinal round, played Yarmouth, and that game went into triple overtime with the boys ultimately ending up coming out victorious.
And Chief Deputy Rand Maker got some water dumped on his head.
Oh, some water, some Gatorade, some celebratory hugs. I mean, so for those who don't know, Rand Maker is the assistant coach for the Lincoln Academy boys. And due to the ejection of the head coach Ryan Ball at the last regular season game, Coach Ball was unable to attend the quarterfinal game. So Rand Maker had to step up and coach, and what a high pressure situation. It's a good thing he deals with that in his day-to-day job.
It's almost like he's a pro.
Rose to the occasion.
That's amazing. And it's amazing to hear that Ryan was ejected too. Cause like, I remember because at some point Ryan was the freshman basketball coach, and he was my coach, and Ryan was pretty even keeled on the court, but I remember I would do things and Ryan, like, I would show up not in my suit and tie for the game, thinking we had a home game. And
Johnathan.
I remember Ryan made me run sprints until the bus left. And then when we showed up at the opponent's place, I think it was Rockland at the time, not Oceanside, kept doing sprints, and he was like really mad at me. He was really, but that doesn't translate to me into his like, outbursts on the court. But yeah, it was that was really cool to hear about Rand stepping in and stepping up. Yeah, man. And one of the Hunt twins shared a video with Lucas McNelly of Maine Basketball Rankings of Coach Maker coming into the locker room mid-celebration, and all the players dumping Gatorade and water and just so cool. Jumping around.
That's awesome.
What a moment. Over for Madomic Valley, the boys defeated Lincoln Academy. It was a cross-county rivalry game down in Portland, and Madomic ultimately emerged victorious, and so they play in the Class B South regional final, which will be, we're taping this at about 12:40 on Friday. The game starts in 2 hours. So by the time you're listening, you know how it turned out, and we're not going to say any more because we don't want to jinx it.
Let's go Waldeboro.
Yeah.
I went to Lincoln and they were rivals.
Don't worry, RSU40, I've got you.
I got asked a couple times before Lincoln and Madomic played, like, who I was cheering for. And I was like, I hope all players have a safe game. Because
I hope they all have fun. It's a great time.
Yes. We are very proud of all of them. Real quick hits here, too. Track, Jordan Anderson of Lincoln Academy broke a school record while also winning the state 55-meter dash. In wrestling, I know, right? Wrestling, we had 2 state champions. Jacoby Hager won the 175-pound title, whereas Grady Pease, from Madomic Valley, won the 190-pound title. Cole Workman, Adam St. Cyr, both from LA, and Seamus Pease, Grady's twin brother of Madomic, were runners up. Oh, I hate that I did that in their respective weight classes.
The editor editing herself.
I know. I can't backspace in live. And finally, a fun thing. Hockey. We have a state champion hockey player, Grace Townsend from Adomic Valley, is part of the what did we decide to call it? It's
Chevrolet Wyndham Adomic Chev Windmock.
Chev Windmock, the cooperative team based out of Chevrolet. First time that Madomic has participated in the co-op team, won the state title. This is the third straight state championship for the co-op team as a whole, though. So there we go. I think that's all the major things from this week.
Just all
in
the
world
major.
of sports.
Maybe Chev Hammock.
Chev Hammock.
Yeah.
It sounds like
I'm focusing on the wrong part of this.
yes.
So, Molly, we had some things happening with Mr. Bragg. Who is Mr. Bragg?
Roland Bragg was a Nobleboro resident who passed away in 1999. And I think until February 10th, most people in Nobleboro would know him as a local citizen and a really engaged former select board member, former volunteer firefighter, former business owner, history enthusiast. But nationally, as of February 10th, he's now known as a war hero and the new namesake of Fort Bragg.
And he's the new namesake because it was originally named Fort Bragg for the Confederate General Braxton Bragg. And then the name was changed to Fort Liberty. And then now it was just changed back under this administration to Fort Bragg, but for a new reason.
For Roland Bragg.
Yes.
Because there was there is a rule enacted under the previous presidential administration forbidding the naming of monuments like that after Confederate people.
Which the previous Bragg was.
Yes,
correct?
Braxton Bragg was a Confederate.
Braxton was, and so that's why they changed it.
To Fort Liberty. But a lot of people said, well, I have associations with that name. So for, reasons we can only speculate about, on February 10th, our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, signed a memorandum recognizing Roland Bragg of Nobleboro, Maine, for his heroism, which was very extensive. And I went through the archives, and I would like to read you an account from Nobleboro history because really it's hard to explain how dramatic his circumstances were when he was serving in World War II. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to read it to you.
Go for it.
Good. So this was originally published in the Waldoboro Press on March 29th, 1945, and then republished in the Nobleboro History column in 87. So Roland Bragg was a paratrooper. It says here he took part in about 30 jumps and survived many narrow escapes. He received the Purple Heart, Bronze Star, and Silver Star for gallantry and intrepidity in action. And on one occasion, he and his buddy from Pennsylvania were captured by the Germans, but by artful maneuvering, managed to escape back to their lines. The Waldoboro Press on March 8th, 1945, quoted from one of his letters back home, "I had a race with a German medic to see if he got his ambulance or if I got it. I got it, and him too. I received the Bronze Star later for taking a group of wounded back through enemy lines in the German ambulance and bringing reinforcements and resupply of ammo. It wasn't any fun going back." No kidding, right? For the German, as well as our own troops fired on me, but I made it. I think they were firing at him because he was in a German ambulance that he stole. And he had some wounded Americans in the ambulance too. And he saved one man's life, and he was later recognized for that in California. So in addition to later being injured, for which he got the Purple Heart, he served extensively in World War II. And I just want to include one more letter he wrote to his wife. He said, "This war is no fun. There's too much grief in it. I lost a lot of my buddies, but they all went down fighting. All I can say is that I thank God that I'm still here today." And then he added that, according to this newspaper article, a pen that his fiancée, Barbara Pisinik, who later became his wife, Barbara Bragg, gave him was in his shirt pocket and saved him from having shrapnel go into his heart. So that's a lovely story.
That's incredible. Why is that a story we keep hearing? Like, someone had like a Bible in their breast pocket or just like a big coin.
What I'm learning is always keep something in your breast pocket in case of assassin.
Yeah. So that's who Roland Bragg was as a soldier. And that story is cited in Hegseth's memorandum renaming Fort Bragg, which is a huge military base, after him. And that's quite an honor. But many people around, and the two people who knew him personally who I spoke to, which was his daughter, Deborah Townsend Sokol of Nobleboro, and somebody who used to work for him, Dale Wright, both said he was very reserved and didn't really speak too much about his service. And so his daughters were surprised to learn about this. And I think what he's known for and what he's represented in our archives for is his civic involvement. And he had a hand in everything. He was a building mover. He moved the Nobleboro Historical Society one-room schoolhouse that now houses the Historical Society to its place for free at no charge to the town. He was, in his role as a building mover, he kind of came into possession of a lot of different properties, and he would sometimes fix houses up and give them to people who needed them at very affordable prices or at no cost. And he also helped the town acquire some land in that way too, including the land for the transfer station and eventually the ball field and boat launch on Route 1, which was quite an event. And that land it kind of guarantees public access to Pemaquid Pond in perpetuity for Nobleboro residents. And they ended up dedicating the ball field to Barbara Bragg's father, Valentine Pisinic, who was on the Red Sox.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Quite the connections.
Really digesting all of that right now. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And what I loved about this story, Molly, is like you said before, we ran the story from the BDN when the news broke. So it's like, here's why this is huge news. It's national. It gave a much better backstory on like the name switching than we did right now. But
yes.
What your article did was reinforce like who he was as a local person. Like everybody in the country likely, maybe, possibly, if they saw the news, now know his name. But for people in Lincoln County, it's like, hey, this person who's in national headlines, here's what he did for his community.
Definitely. And he was just everybody, and in the archives, it's so supported that he just had a hand in everything. And he loved recreation and fun. And he also was really invested in the history of Nobleboro as somebody who was intimately familiar with a lot of its buildings from his work and was kind of a jack of all trades, too. And Deborah Townsend Sokol said he would host skating parties on Pemaquid Pond for local kids because he just loved to see them having fun. And I did ask her, I was like, why was he doing all this? Like what, maybe we could say it should be, but it's not standard to be so involved in the fun times of local kids that aren't all your own, And she said, well, she thought for a minute and she was like, well, he just wanted to see kids having fun. It just brought him joy. So after all of that, after being a young soldier and being injured in the Battle of the Bulge and going through so much, he came back to Maine and really became a very humble, cornerstone of his community. So it's very special that now he's getting some national recognition.
I hope one day someone makes a movie of it because in reading the story of commandeering a German ambulance, that's the good things.
Totally.
Yeah.
It seems like that story is one that represents a lot of Lincoln County ideals about community, about being involved in nationally, being involved in the world, but also coming home and basically doing what's necessary and then cultivating community at home is kind of, I think, part of the backbone of kind of Lincoln County culture.
Definitely.
And so in that sense, it is cool to see that it's being renamed to at least have him thrown into conversation, because you will inevitably, like we're doing right now, talk about those things. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. I hope that that's true. And I hope that the people who have connections to Fort Bragg, who love that name and know it, learn a little bit about him. And I hope this helps people know who he was, this renaming event. And it's a Lincoln County value to be so engaged in your community, but it's also kind of a broader American one.
Absolutely.
Would cautiously say. And also just kind of scrambling and putting a life together, being a jack of all trades and doing what you need to, and then giving back when you're able. It's kind of an idealistic goal, right? So pretty amazing. He has like a lot of, he helped move a lot of really iconic Nobleboro buildings to like the Nobleboro Barn, which isn't there anymore, but he brought that to the right downtown area and was known for that. So like all of the little things that he did, like many of them are still around. So even though it's been 25 years since he passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Roland Bragg, for living in Nobleboro and giving so much to the community. It's nice too. It's also kind of cool. And then just when so much time has passed, to revisit his legacy now,
Absolutely.
Which you were able to do through the LCN archives. Like that's we're looking at it now. That's a sizable pile of printouts of things you were able to find.
And for our listeners, you too could have access to the archives for the low cost of whatever our annual subscription is. About 42
bucks. Less than 50.
What's it, $42?
What does it tell you that none of us know how much a subscription costs? I'm looking it up really quick. I know.
Because everybody's always already subscribed. They don't have to ask me.
And or they are doing the thing where they just go and buy it at the gas station because they can get it on Wednesday then, as opposed to waiting for it to be in the mailbox.
$1.06. All right, it's $1.06.
Yeah, bring your 6 cents in.
I take it back, Johnathan. I owe you an apology. In county for 1 year is $45.
Nice.
And that includes the paper and online access.
Naturally. And I will say, like, I have done some digging in the archives for various stores, including this one, and it is so interesting. And you never know what you're going to run across. Like one time I printed out a page just for something else that I needed, and somebody who works in our front office, Rova, she was like, "That's my birth announcement."
I'm laughing because during your research of this, you sent me a photo of our former publisher, Chris Roberts.
Holy cow, publisher's 40 now.
Yes, John's father celebrating his birthday. Yeah. That was delightful to me.
All kinds of stuff. So go in the archives and put in your friends and family's names and enjoy.
It's true. I found my earliest appearance in the Lincoln County News, and it was in 1998 when I was, and it's a photo of the now Senator Cameron Rennie, but at the time she was Cameron Jordan, and she was my babysitter.
Oh my gosh!
And it's at a Bristol school carnival, and she is in the fortune telling booth, and she's holding my hands, and I'm 3 at that point, shockingly blonde,
wide-eyed,
still just as wide-eyed as I am now. And so that was so going through, but also I found that the Lincoln County News has called me John Riley with Jon, and then Riley Reilly. That's not how I spell my name.
We do our best. Okay?
We do our best. So I haven't found every iteration that I existed, but that what I think is the earliest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will find stuff. That's so cool. Oh,
well, thanks for doing this, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Maya.
totally.
Yeah.
And that has been Beyond the Broadsheet.
We'll see you next week.
Audibly.
You'll hear us.
You'll hear me next week.
Oh, come on.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. Production support is provided by Tyler Davis of Tyality Productions. Theme music by Stu Mahan and Sherwood Olin.
Have a question or a suggestion? Email us at info@lcnme.com. And if you haven't already, please be sure to rate and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen.
This has been a Lincoln County Publishing Company production.